Hello, welcome to a suspenseful story. Xiaohei seeks top-secret info linked to F and R and finds a horse farm. Uncle Long and Xiaohei investigate the farm. The owner, a strong woman, insists she only hires 171 good employees, no gunmen here. She disliked Uncle Long, so he parked outside, spying like a spy for fugitives sneaking away. Daytime was meant to rattle the snakes, but come midnight, someone drove off quietly. Uncle Long was now in full stalker mode. To his surprise, the sneaky driver was Ammon, an old acquaintance. Uncle Long's tactics were spot on. Uncle Long asked Ammon about his dealings with Kiki, only for Ammon to innocently claim he hadn't seen Kiki for 20 years since fleeing the gang. Ammon mistakenly thought Uncle Long was sent by Kiki, only to get spooked. Uncle Long raised an eyebrow in disbelief. Uncle Long pulled the trigger, only to discover that the gang leader, Peter, had a backstabbing agenda. News reached Uncle Long, and he began to trust Ammon's tale. Ammon wants to kill himself to prove innocence, making Uncle Long doubt his loyalty. Ammon promises $300 weekly protection fee. Back at the bar, Uncle Long struck a deal. The town's music festival needed nitrous oxide balloons. The bar owner grinned ear to ear. The owner strategized how to stock up. These balloons could sell for $10 each, and one bottle could inflate 350. What an opportunity. Once the owner went viral, everyone would strike it rich. Feuded and Xiaohei shone at the festival, with balloon sales soaring. But then, two guys suddenly barged in, claiming this was their turf. Feuded and Xiaohei exchanged glances, sensing tension. The next day, they reported to their boss, who was completely baffled. The boss decided to send in the heavyweights for a lesson. That night, Xiaohei and Feuded returned to the festival, just to be swarmed by a crowd and beat to a pulp. Talk about a rough night. Uncle Long noticed the bruised victims, his heartbreak evident. It seemed like an age-old tale was about to unfold into a grand bloodbath. The 75-year-old made fists fly like the wind as he rallied his squad. Uncle Long wielded a bat, ready to take revenge, while his crew dove right into the fray. Blood and bats flew everywhere as the opponents were steadily pushed back, but someone audaciously attempted to sneak attack Uncle Long. Talk about poor judgment. Seeing this, Ammon jumped in, decking the guy, and thus the battle made a spectacular conclusion. Uncle Long lamented the necessity of revenge. Since they dared to strike his people, they'd soon find out just how swift he could hit back. Back at the bar, Uncle Long handed out cash, delighting everyone. A strong dragon can't overpower the local snake, he joked, but they all ended up arrested. Xiaohei happily slurping hot pot on the road when bam. The police suddenly appeared. It's funny how life works sometimes. Remnants of drugs were found in his car. Xiaohei ended up in jail, desperately calling Uncle Long, who had flown to New York. Xiaohei lost his lifeline. His phone turned out to be key evidence, causing him to lose his clout and ultimately get released. Feuded woke to a knife at his throat. The bald guy demanded Uncle Long's whereabouts, ruthless. Feuded was sharp. He barely revealed anything but managed to dish out some info, which the bald guy promptly sent to the dirty cops. On his turf, the bald guy felt no fear. Feuded was rescued, but Ammon met his girlfriend Helen, tied to the bald gang. Ammon and Helen plotted to uncover the bald guy's intel and found he was quite ruthless. Ammon was ready to negotiate with the bald guy, unaware Helen was actually linked to Laura, whose sinister goal was to lock up the bald dude. Laura tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but her colleague was keen and ended up alerting the feds. At the funeral, Uncle Long finally laid eyes on his daughter, but she was decidedly unenthused, clearly conveying a wall. But she revealed the family's financial woes while he was locked up, mentioning in it harassing her life, though she seemed to have found closure. But her resolution didn't equate to Uncle Long's. She sought to question her elder brother's care for the family. Was it all due to the gang's plan? Uncle Long made his way to the boss' hospital room and bluntly laid it all out, only to find the boss' expression was pure shock. The boss had no idea what Uncle Long was muttering about, prompting Uncle Long to suddenly seize his face, carefully scrutinizing his micro-expressions, ultimately convincing him that the boss was unaware of the matter. As Uncle Long walked out of the room, the boss remained utterly speechless, still deeply pondering what had actually transpired in there. Uncle Long headed straight to the club on a mission to find Nick. One punch after another, Nick went down, and Uncle Long delivered a hefty uppercut to his gut. This guy was pleading for mercy. Uncle Long snagged a wire, dragging Nick to the dining table and ending it gently. What an unexpected twist. Ammon wasn't too thrilled about this. He saw it as a challenge and noted that this was just cowardice from the gang against Uncle Long. Even though the boss was aging, his wits were still sharp. He proclaimed it was a blatant offense from the gang against Uncle Long. Had he known about Nick's antics earlier, the boss wouldn't have let Uncle Long step in. He'd have handled it himself, leading him to poke fun at his own son without mercy. After teasing, the matter settled. Uncle Long visited Dina's flower shop. Sharing Nick was off the table. He admitted he wasn't the best of dads, but wouldn't let any scoundrel ruin his family. Uncle Long urged her to stay in touch. Thought the gang would retaliate, never expected them to pull a fast when Uncle Long learned from Xiaohei about the recent turn of events. The feds rushed to Puget's shop, kicking the door open only to find it utterly bare. Talk about arriving too late. Everything had been moved out ages ago, leaving Puget clueless, convinced his business was finished. However, Uncle Long handed him a fancy bag, ironically declaring it a Christmas gift. Meanwhile, Helen approached Ammon, informing him the bald guy wanted to talk with Uncle Long. It seemed like this clash was about to escalate. The bald guy thought Uncle Long was here to seize his resources, while Uncle Long believed might makes right. Who needed reasoning when he heard fists? The bald guy set out to teach Uncle Long a lesson, enlisting Helen's boyfriend to deliver some firepower. This was about to get dramatic.